G'day, my name is Vegas. As you're about to see, I am far more comfortable in front of a canvas than I am in front of a camera, so my apologies. Hopefully we'll get through this. I'm a Wurundjeri man from the Kulin Nation, and my mother's side grew up in the Brunswick area, and my uncle was a beautiful Indigenous painter, and I was lucky enough to learn from him as a young boy a lot of the value and beauty in telling stories without using words, and I loved every moment of it. As I grew up, I sort of moved away a little bit from painting for a while. As you do, life happens and you travel and do things. But when my uncle developed cancer, I was drawn back to painting and really wanted to express to him how I felt about what he taught me and the connection that I felt to him and to country when I paint. I was able to get him a painting in hospital, and when I delivered it to him, he asked me who taught me to paint like that, which I responded, some black fella, and he thought that was hilarious, and we had a nice little laugh and a moment around that. Unfortunately, he passed away the very next day, but it gave me great comfort to know that he felt that connection with me, and he died with that painting by his side. The opportunity to do this artwork has been profound to me. Obviously, for those reasons that I just expressed, my mission in this is to try and help Indigenous Australians to try and get the help that they need. I don't think my uncle did all he could and didn't really reach out in the ways that he could. So hopefully, if I can make a difference to one person with this painting and change their life, it would be amazing. So, you know, I really hope that I can do that. Yeah, as you can look at the painting, I wanted to express all the beautiful waterways that are in Victoria, you know, led by the Yarra, obviously. It's such a beautiful part of the state, and you know, I really wanted to depict that in the beautiful blues and the different tones of blue. So you can see that river running through the middle of the painting. The handprints represent from early childhood through to adulthood and through to the next phase, into the transitional phase, whatever you believe that is in the next part of life, is represented in those rainbows. It's love and hope and everything that's beautiful, and I wanted to show how you can transition into that, and it can still be a beautiful thing. As you can see, the circles on two on the left and one on the right, they represent family and meeting places. The U-shapes represent humans, and it's basically the shape your bum makes when you sit in the sand. So that's where that symbol comes from. The one with a line on either side is female, and the one with two lines is male. So generally that will be the case when you see that. There's a lot of line work involved here, which is traditional for my mob. They paint in a lot of line work, so I've included that as that's part of my style. You can see on the far right there's a wing, which is Bunjil the eagle, who is my totem, and he's really important to the area that we're talking about in Victoria, and he basically was the creator of humans. So if you look at the side of the rivers, it's I've used sea sponge, which gives texture and shows all the you know, the mud and the soil of the rivers, which the story is of Bunjil created man out of the mud and the soil from the river, and then he got it right and created females. So that's what that represents. So, you know, I'd like you to again just thank you guys for the opportunity to have done this piece. It really does mean a lot to me, and I hope it can make a difference, and I hope everyone loves it and is touched by what it is and what it means. So I'd like to just say cheerio and wish everybody the best.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Western and Central Melbourne Integrated Cancer Services Annual Forum for 2022. My name is Shelley Dolan, and I am the Chair of WCMICS and the Chief Executive of the Peter MacCallum Cancer Centre. Before we start, I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of Australia on which we meet virtually today, I pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging, and I extend that respect to any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people here with us today. The mission of WCMICS is to improve patient experiences and outcomes by connecting cancer care and driving best practice. WCMICS enables partner health services to continually improve the cancer care they provide to our diverse and rapidly growing communities in the Western and Central Melbourne region. I've been really impressed by the enthusiasm and dedication of the team again this year. Delivery is spread across 4 main areas. The first is the Victorian Integrated Cancer Service statewide implementation plan. WCMICS efforts have focused on implementing the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander optimal care pathways, which we'll hear more about in today's presentations, defining and implementing process to monitor and report alignment with all optimal care pathways, and collaborating with the Australian Cancer Survivorship Centre to facilitate high-quality survivorship care. The team has also driven and supported innovation by funding and partnering with services to develop initiatives to improve care for people with cancer. In 2022, 6 funded projects have commenced. For several years now, WCMICS has enabled significant innovation in service improvement through our Improve and Innovate grant funding stream. And today, you'll hear about some of the exciting work that they've completed. This year, to build on the success of past projects, WCMICS has designed a new grant stream to fund initiatives that will increase the impact of proven health innovations, benefiting even more people. With a total grants pool of up to $900,000 available every 2 years, this scale and spread funding stream will fund projects that typically run longer, between 24 and 30 months. WCMICS has also prioritised the operational needs of our 7 partner health services. For example, a service redesign project with St Vincent's Hospital, addressing the needs of the older person in routine cancer care, supporting St Vincent's to implement a best practice geriatric oncology model of care. Nurse Joanne, our series of short animated videos about chemotherapy and bone marrow transplant, produced in 2021, have become our sleeper hit of 2022. Nurses have found the videos really useful to use during patient education sessions across a variety of cancer care settings. They report that patients who may struggle to retain the volume of information are showing greater engagement in their care. And demand for these videos has been steadily on the rise from across the country and even internationally, which in itself speaks to their effectiveness. Our Cancer Mind Care project, launched at the end of 2021, offers an accessible online self-help platform for people who may be experiencing anxiety, depression and fear of recurrence. The well-received Psycho-Oncology One-Stop Shop features tailored and interactive modules for patients, carers and clinicians. WCMICS continues to build on the work and add more consumer stories and clinician interviews to this suite. Finally, our team continues to provide a data service for health services across the region, exploring new ways of analysing and reporting on cancer data. WCMICS equips health services with intelligence we need to support evidence-based service improvement, planning and development work, and Dish will have more to say about this vital service. All the work I've mentioned is delivered or supported by the WCMICS Programme Office. By connecting cancer care and driving best practice, we lift the quality of care for the diverse community across the catchment that is Western and Central Melbourne. Furthermore, our partner health services provide cancer care to people from across the state, which is estimated to account for close to half of our cancer care activity. At WCMICS, we take pride in our agility and resilience and in our ability to adapt and innovate. With our partner health services, we strive to design and deliver better models of care and service delivery. And today, you will hear from a few of our people leading significant projects focused on improving patient experiences and outcomes. I hope you will see our commitment to better cancer care shine through in these presentations. I hope you enjoy today's programme, and my thanks to every one of you for joining us today.
Hello everyone, I'm Dish Hayrath and I'm the Clinical Director at WCMICS. In 2022, WCMICS continued our mission to improve patient experiences and outcomes by connecting cancer care and driving best practice at our partner health services. Today, to acknowledge and celebrate what WCMICS has achieved over 2022 to realise our mission, we will share with you a few of this year's highlights. First off, we will hear from our Cancer Service Development Manager, Dilu Rupasara. WCMICS, together with Hume Regional Integrated Cancer Service, or HRICS, is leading a statewide program of work to embed the Optimal Care Pathway, or OCP, for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people across Victoria. Dilu, who is co-leading this important work, will showcase highlights from what has been a very busy year. This work will support health professionals deliver culturally safe and responsive cancer care to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander patients and their families. Next, Stacey Panozzo will tell us about work on a complementary WCMICS funded project, Advanced Cancer among Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. Cancer is a leading cause of burden of disease for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people in Australia. Many face challenges when accessing and engaging with cancer care services from the very early to advanced stages of disease. To establish the nature and scope of this issue, WCMICS funded a collaboration between community members, palliative care and Aboriginal health professionals and researchers from the Royal Melbourne Hospital, Peter Mac, St Vincent's and the Victorian Aboriginal Community Controlled Health Organisation, or VACCHO. We are pleased to have Stacey join us today to tell us more about this critical project and its findings on what needs to be done to improve cancer care for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people and for their families. Then we'll hear from one of our project leads, Sachi Bajaj, who will take us through a fascinating project about fertility preservation. In collaboration with the Royal Women's Hospital and Royal Children's Hospital, WCMICS funded and produced a suite of educational videos about fertility preservation. Targeting people of reproductive age who are affected by cancer, as well as cancer care clinicians, the team has worked to raise broad awareness of these onco-fertility options. The project aims to ensure cancer patients receive timely information to help them make informed decisions about preserving their fertility. We look forward to hearing more from Sachi. Finally, Tegan Nash from the Australian Cancer Survivorship Centre, or ACSC, will speak about their collaboration with the Victorian Integrated Cancer Services, or VICS. In April, VICS and the ACSC embarked on a strategic collaboration over 24 months to co-design and implement a statewide approach to improving cancer survivorship care. To close today's presentations, Tegan will update us on progress to date in this area. Before we get to the forum proper, I'd like to highlight one of WCMIC's other achievements and one that is close to my heart given my role as Chief Medical Information Officer at Peter Mac. Over the past year, our data lead David Maloney, ably supported by our senior data analyst Sandra Picken, led the delivery of a Department of Health initiative to improve and simplify our access to well-secured sensitive patient data. The Victorian Data Access Linkage Trust, or VAULT, is a secure online platform developed by the Centre for Victoria Data Linkage, or CVDL, for accessing this data. The VAULT will be used for the release and analysis of linked de-identified data for the VICS. Our data will be accessed within a secure cloud environment in the vault, and analysis will be undertaken on virtual machines or VMs. Each ICS will have its own VM in the vault. With the platform delivered, WCMICS now enjoys out-of-the-box compliance with all privacy legislation and robust information management standards. Soon, we will gain access to further health datasets, and with centralised tools and processes, we will cut out duplication and enhance collaboration across the WCMICS. As the Vault project, with its myriad components, committees and teams, draws to a close, I'd just like to acknowledge and thank David and Sandra, and before them Abby McBride, for their tireless efforts and dedication to deliver this critical initiative for the WCMICS. Now let's get on to today's presentations. We hope you find them interesting and engaging.
Thank you to everyone who's joining the Western and Central Melbourne Integrated Cancer Services, or WCMICS's annual forum today. My name is Dila Rupasara, and I'm the Cancer Services Development Manager at WCMICS. Before I begin, I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians who have lived and loved this country through the vastness of time. I honour the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, whose country I stand on today. I pay my respects to their elders, past, present and emerging, and to the elders and ancestors who are the safekeepers and caretakers of the oldest living culture on the planet. For this is the very bedrock of this place, our shared home and our special identity in the world, and a source of shared pride as Australians. For this land always was and always will be Aboriginal land. Today, I will provide background on WCMICS and the Victorian Integrated Cancer Services, or WCMICS, the WCMICS implementation plan, the implementation of the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander optimal care pathways, the next steps of our work, and then I will be inviting Andrea, the Aboriginal Support Project Officer and Hospital Liaison Officer at Peter Mac, to join me for a question and answer session. The WCMICS are Victoria's Cancer Services Improvement Network. WCMICS is one of the 8 integrated cancer services. We build relationships between healthcare providers and other cancer care stakeholders to develop, implement and evaluate initiatives that improve the way Victoria's health services provide care and support to people affected by cancer. With an increasing emphasis on delivering collective effort and impact at scale, the WCMICS Network Group developed the WCMICS Implementation Plan. The plan summarizes how WCMICS will work towards addressing its roles and responsibilities in the Victorian Cancer Plan 2020-2024. WCMICS and the Hume Regional Integrated Cancer Services are co-leads of the focus area to implement the optimal care pathway for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. The aim of this work is to reduce inequities in health outcomes and experiences for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people diagnosed with cancer. As a first step of this work, the ICS is inviting health professionals across Victorian health services to participate in a health service clinician survey. The survey aims to identify strengths, variation or gaps of workforce knowledge and determine the implementation activities with member health services. If you have not yet had the opportunity to complete the survey, you can access the survey by using the QR code. The survey takes approximately 7 minutes to complete. Thank you for taking time to complete this survey. Welcome, Andrea, to WCMICS's 2022 annual forum. It's a great pleasure to have the opportunity to speak with you today. As I mentioned earlier, the ICS will be supporting their member health services in implementing the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander OCP. The ICS will be inviting health professionals to complete the Health Service Clinician Survey, which aims to identify strengths, variation or gaps of workforce knowledge and determine the implementation activities with member health services. How important do you think it is that clinicians participate in the Health Service Clinician Survey?
I think it's incredibly important that health professionals complete the survey, as they're the ones on the front line, so to speak. It will give them an opportunity to reflect on their own practice and perhaps identify what they can personally work on.
Thank you, Andrea. The Optimal Care Pathways are national guides that promote best practice cancer care and optimal patient experience for different cancer types. The Optimal Care Pathway for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people with cancer complements the tumour-specific Optimal Care Pathways. It aims to support the delivery of culturally appropriate and responsive cancer care. It is the responsibility of the healthcare system and all the people within its employment to address the needs of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people in a culturally appropriate and responsive way. Andrea, as an Aboriginal Health Liaison Officer, could you share your thoughts on what it means to meet the needs of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people?
Sure. So cultural safety is at the core of meeting the needs of First Nations people. Aboriginal hospital liaison officers and Aboriginal health workers are crucial to promoting this and providing culturally safe care. Including Aboriginal liaisons or workers in meetings about First Nations patients' care can make a big difference to their treatment and care. Ensuring that patients feel supported, heard and understood is vital. And it's also about ensuring that patients are given opportunities to ask questions and be part of decision making. Sometimes it's easier for patients in the moment to agree with whatever the clinician says, and there may be some feelings of shame in asking for something to be explained. Patients need to know who they can contact if they have any questions, and that it's okay to go away and think about what's been discussed, to yarn about it with their support people, and to come back with any questions. This is often where the Aboriginal Hospital Liaison Officer or Aboriginal health worker comes in. Patients often feel more comfortable talking to their Aboriginal liaison or worker, who can then direct them to the appropriate person to answer their questions. Having one person as a main contact makes the process easier. I know that having one person I could go to at the hospital with any questions or concerns was incredibly valuable and appreciated during my cancer diagnosis and treatment.
Thank you, Andrea. The Cancer Australia's Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander People's OCP Implementation Guide considers each step of the OCP and suggests activities to support the implementation of the OCP at different levels of the health system. It includes a quick check box in each section that provides a checklist to assist in identifying priorities and monitoring progress. The Health Service Clinician Survey incorporates the quick checks and so will help in identifying priorities across WCMICS's health services. Andrea, can you describe how you assist your service in understanding and responding to cultural factors that may influence decision-making by Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people?
Absolutely. So one example of this is that recently I've been supporting an Aboriginal woman who came to Peter Mac to have a small breast cancer removed. She came from interstate and brought her husband who needs to be in a care facility due to his medical diagnosis. The health and safety of her husband was an important part of her feeling safe and able to get the treatment she needed. I reached out to social work to seek assistance with placing her husband in an appropriate facility. Initially, it was thought the patient would require a lumpectomy without any further treatment needed. The initial surgery led to the discovery of more cancer and the need for a total mastectomy. I knew before the patient's appointment that this would be the case, so I made sure that I caught up with her both before she received the diagnosis and after. She was understandably upset, so I went to her next appointment with her. I provided a friendly ear to hear about her confusion about whether to have a reconstruction and reduction in her other breast or just stay the way she would be after surgery. I called her a few times in the weeks before her surgery and was able to address concerns and point her in the right direction for reliable information. I assured her that information on the Breast Cancer Network Australia website was culturally safe, as I'm part of the BCNA Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander reference group, and there is a section specifically for First Nations patients, which the members have consulted about. I was there the morning of her mastectomy to offer support to both her and her adult son. It was important to her that her son had support, and it offered her a small amount of comfort to know that I was there for him too. It's about more than the patient. Family and support networks need support too. Of course, this is true for most people, but in the context of historical distrust of mainstream health services, even more so. I provided the cultural connection this patient needed and helped her to navigate the mainstream health service. She was able to call me directly and speak freely. It does help that I've had a cancer myself and can see the potential issues from a First Nations perspective.
Thank you, Andrea, for joining me today. It was really great to hear your experience as an Aboriginal Health Liaison Officer. Thank you again.
Thanks so much for having me.
Hello, I'm Gabby Ebsworth. I'm a proud Wonkamara and Barkindji woman. I'm joined here with Stacey Panozzo. Before we begin, we'd really like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands on which we're meeting, the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nations, and pay our respects to elders past and present, and also those joining into the WCMICS forums today, and acknowledge the ongoing sovereignty of the land that we gather on.
Thanks, Gabby. We'll be sharing today some of our ongoing program of work undertaken by the Palliative Nexus team, partnering and guided by a local Aboriginal community advisory group, and who we're sharing on behalf of today. So this group includes senior Aboriginal researchers, health workers, Aboriginal hospital liaison officers, a representative from the Victorian Community Controlled Health Organisation, and Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who are consumer representatives with a community members, obviously with a lived experience of cancer and palliative care.
So across Australia, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people experience inequalities at every point of the cancer continuum, from cancer etiology through to end of life, with significantly higher cancer mortality rates than non-Indigenous Australians. This is partially due to reduced access and engagement with cancer services. On a whole, Aboriginal people are less likely to access cancer screening and early detection. They're less likely to receive a timely diagnosis and are often diagnosed at later stages of their cancer journey. They have relatively fewer cancer-related hospitalizations. They're less likely to receive cancer treatment compared to other Australians for the same primary cancer site, age and diagnostic periods. And they also lack access and have low utilisation of palliative care services.
So this WCMICS funded project enabled us to be able to explore and understand the needs of Aboriginal people with advanced cancer and their families in Victoria when it comes to provision of palliative and end-of-life care, and to identify ways to improve and facilitate culturally responsive and safe care to meet the needs of each person.
Our approach was, over an 18-month period, we co-designed the project, which was undertaken with an iterative process of collaborative yarning, which privileges the voices of Aboriginal people in Victoria with a lived experience of cancer and palliative care, and also those of Aboriginal health professionals working across and participating in hospital sites.
So as you can see from this slide, there's 4 components to our exploratory project activities. We first involved yarning groups with Aboriginal health professionals across 3 tertiary hospitals and explored perspectives regarding what are the enablers, what are the challenges in providing care for Aboriginal people with advanced cancer and palliative and end-of-life care needs, and to really seek recommendations for improving this care. And we equally, with that same focus as well, sought and spoke with Aboriginal community members from across Victoria with lived experience of cancer and palliative care, really wanting to understand what their perspectives and needs were in their cancer journey, particularly when cancer gets worse. So activities B and C really looked to understand perspectives of 59 different palliative care staff from across 30 different hospital and community palliative care services. We wanted to look to see if there were any existing models of care and what learnings and recommendations we could that could be shared to improve culturally safe care and services for our Aboriginal patients with advanced cancer. And finally, we looked at a 10-year statewide patient admission data set just to look at patterns of cancer and palliative care service use for Aboriginal people with advanced cancer across Victoria, and really dove in deep with a qualitative medical record review of a sample of those patients who died in hospital to better understand their cancer journey.
So in a summary, the project activities provided a really rich and collective voice of Aboriginal community members and health professionals, together with non-Indigenous cancer and palliative care clinicians regarding experiences, perspectives, needs and recommendations to improve cancer care for Aboriginal people, and also palliative care for Aboriginal people as well. From, the really incredible process of collaborative yarning together, especially with the other project data, the Community Advisory Group have endorsed 5 key focus areas and 29 recommended responses and activities for how we can improve care for Aboriginal people with advanced cancer and palliative care needs. These include key strategies to create a network of support for Aboriginal patients and their families, strategies around ensuring continuity of care and a focus on relationship building, capability and capacity building to ensure culturally appropriate care is an organisational commitment, as well as opportunities to ensure best informed culturally appropriate palliative care and culturally appropriate care being everyone's business. We looked at building on strengths in the community to improve patient care and detailing key areas for further research activity.
And Gabby, just in the few minutes that we have left, because we have such a huge volume of information that's been shared and explored, I just wanted to ask you, can you share with us the importance of this program of work? Why and what about it is important, and the outcomes so far that we've sort of shared today?
I think one of the most important aspects of this work, and we see it all the time, is that Indigenous voice is centred in this project. What we see in the community all the time is that the people, the communities that the research is being done on, they're hardly involved in the research that's actually conducted. We're giving Indigenous people seats at the table to bring their experience, to bring their entirety of their culture, their community into their hospital journey, empowering them to use their voices to create a better hospital program and cancer and palliative care services for all Indigenous people. It's really important that we work together on this, because Indigenous people only represent a small population of the community, but we're affected by these illnesses and the ongoing effects of colonisation at such greater rates that we need allies, and we need people like those involved in this project, those out of VACCHO and WCMICS, to really drive this work home and create a better healthcare service for all Aboriginal people.
Thank you so much, Gabby. Really appreciate it. And I know you'd love to acknowledge the artwork that we've been sharing today as well.
Yes, we've had some really incredible artwork that's been done by way of Jeffrey Samuels, Vicky Cousins, and Bianca Beeston, who worked with hospital staff across St. Vincent's that are included in the slides, to bring us this gorgeous, mandala of artwork that doesn't have a beginning and an end. It symbolises an ongoing journey and the way that we work together for the rest of this work.
Thank you so much, Gabby, and thanks everyone for listening. And we'd especially like to thank all of the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander community members who have been basically the governance of this whole piece of work, but equally those who have participated in yarning and sharing their stories and narratives to better the care of all Aboriginal community across Victoria. So thanks so much for listening.
Hi, my name is Sachi Bajaj, project lead from WCMICS. Cancer treatment, including chemotherapy, radiation, and surgery, may impair or destroy a person's ability to have children later in life. As cancer treatment improves and survivorship increases, fertility preservation options in women, men, and children have become an increasing important topic. Research indicates that some newly diagnosed patients may not be aware of their options for having kids after cancer, and that similarly goes to some health professionals, that they are not aware of the fertility preservation option for their patients either. So to raise awareness, WCMICS have funded and produced a suite of animated videos around the oncofertility issues and the treatment options called Fertility After Cancer. in collaboration with Royal Women's and Royal Children's Hospital to offer a free, readily accessible resources to patients and their carers, family and friends and health professionals. The video responds directly to the new updated COSA guidelines.
Hi, my name is Dr. Violet Q, and I'm a fertility specialist at the Royal Women's Hospital and Melbourne IVF. I'm also a clinical senior lecturer at the University of Melbourne. It's been my absolute pleasure to work with WCMICS in developing a suite of oncofertility patient education videos that we've called the Fertility After Cancer campaign. So we've chosen video as our main tool for education as part of the Fertility After Cancer campaign, and we want to increase access to all doctors and medical practitioners and start a national campaign and conversation about fertility preservation. The videos have been produced in Australia for an Australian context. They've been produced by a panel of experts, including nurses, doctors, as well as patient cancer groups, as well as advocacy from individual patients as well. So we've taken on feedback to improve our communication. And the videos also contain age-appropriate information for children, young adults, adolescents, adults and their families. And the videos, as mentioned, were reviewed and endorsed by patients who have had the lived experience of having had oncofertility treatments. So what's the scale of patients who this might affect, and what does the data tell us? Well, through the Australian Institute of Health and Welfare, we know that under the age of 40, so from the age of 0 to 39, each year, over 8,000 Australians are diagnosed with cancer. And in other Australian studies, about 50% of those have a documented discussion about fertility. That might mean that there are thousands of Australians who are missing out on our fertility preservation options or even the discussion because awareness around our new assisted reproductive technology might not be that high. So we are very excited to spread the word around oncofertility and what's available to patients regardless of where they live. And what's so important about the patient videos, patient education videos that are online, is that these resources can be accessed by those living in regional, rural and remote locations. The biggest issue is mainly one of access. It is a new emerging field, oncofertility, and non-tertiary hospitals may have oncology departments, but not all hospitals have a fertility service. And often cancers, it's very important that as a profession, we work towards making connections between units and easing the pathway for fertility referrals. Excitingly, at the Royal Women's Hospital here, we have national transportation services, so we can offer fertility preservation of ovarian and testicular tissue around Australia, and that's called our NOTS program, National Ovarian and Testicular Tissue Transport Service. So I really hope that explaining our services can help healthcare providers have discussions with their patients, knowing that these are possibly delicate and difficult discussions, and knowing that there is a service which they can refer patients on to have further counselling. National campaigns like ours mean that we can help close the gap between having a service and linking people into the service. And it'll be excellent as well for patients to know about these services so they're aware of their options before undertaking chemotherapy and other treatments. Because whilst chemotherapy, which is medical chemicals that attack cancer cells, there might be off-target effects that might also impact and damage the DNA and thus cause programmed cell death of eggs and sperm. So it's important that people understand their fertility options before undertaking their chemotherapy, and likewise radiation therapy or surgery of the reproductive organs if that's where their cancer is affecting them. So in terms of the new National Guidelines on Fertility Preservation, COSA, which stands for the Clinical Oncology Society of Australia, have just recently updated their guidelines. And they now include information for children as well as adults, and break up the guidelines into fertility preservation, but also what happens after. So after the chemotherapy and treatment, things such as puberty, contraception, conception, and other considerations for pregnancy for people who have had cancer and its treatment. We also, through the guidelines, state that ovarian tissue freezing is no longer considered experimental, however, particularly for girls, requires oversight from experienced professionals, and also that testicular tissue is still considered experimental at this stage. As a whole, the guidelines offer a broad discussion about fertility preservation for adults and children. So I'll now hand over back to Sachi.
Thank you, Violet, for this. Now, before we all go and watch the promo video, I just want to highlight that this is the Australian first series of the 6 oncofertility videos produced and funded by WCMICS, translated in the 5 languages, and many other informative resources all are available on our website, fertilityaftercancer.com. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Cancer and its treatment can impact fertility, which is the ability to conceive children. Infertility can be temporary, lasting months or years, or it can be permanent. With help from a range of health professionals and people affected by cancer, we have developed a series of short video animations to help you understand the options and the steps for fertility preservation before and during cancer treatment. If you want to become a parent, or even if you've not yet thought about having children, we hope you find these videos helpful in making informed and timely decisions.
My name is Tika Nash, and along with my colleague Rebecca McIntosh, we are project managers at the Australian Cancer Survivorship Centre, based at the Peter MacCallum Cancer Centre, delivering the Victorian statewide collaboration to improve cancer survivorship care project in collaboration with the Victorian Integrated Cancer Services. We would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands on which we are meeting from today, the lands of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. We also acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands on which you all work today, and pay our respects to elders both past and present and their families, and extend that respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people present today. Improving how Victoria delivers cancer survivorship care is a commitment of the Victorian Cancer Plan 2020 to 2024. There is an emphasis on the health and wellbeing of people living with and beyond cancer, and supporting cancer survivors to recover and thrive. The Cancer Plan outlines activities to build workforce knowledge and skills in survivorship care across cancer care systems and to build capacity in survivorship research. The VICS Implementation Plan 2021 to 2022 also outlines a commitment to facilitate high-quality survivorship care, and it is through this commitment that this project was established. Funded by the VICS, the Victorian statewide collaboration to improve cancer survivorship care project involves a strategic partnership between VICS and the ACSC to implement a statewide approach to survivorship care, applying an experience-based co-design approach. This project is being delivered from April 2022 to March 2024 and builds on the learnings and momentum created by several recent and large programs of work, including the Victorian Cancer Survivorship Program Phase 2 Final Report and Recommendations, the Victorian Quality Cancer Survivorship Care Framework and Policy Template, and the Embed and Spread Optimal Cancer Survivorship Care Across Victoria Project Final Report. This project involves 2 project managers at the ACSC, with each VICS contributing in-kind support. There are 3 project objectives. The first objective is to address VICS Implementation Plan Area 8A, which involves facilitating high-quality survivorship care through supporting Victorian public hospitals to ensure appropriate policies are in place, specifically the Victorian Quality Cancer Survivorship Care Framework and Policy Template. The second project objective is to address VICS Implementation Plan Area 8B, which involves facilitating high-quality survivorship care through collaborating to implement survivorship care models. Work under this objective will involve co-designing survivorship models of care and implementation of these models at a selection of health services through quality improvement methodologies. The third objective is around education to improve VICS and member services' confidence, capacity and capability around survivorship care by leveraging ACSC expertise. We'd like to tell you a bit more about the Victorian Quality Cancer Survivorship Care Policy Framework and Template as part of Objective 1 of this project. The policy template was developed following the development of the Victorian Quality Cancer Survivorship Care Framework in 2020. The framework includes 30 consensus-based criteria organised under 3 domains: policy, process and outcome. These were determined following a literature review, environmental scan and a modified reactive online Delphi study where we asked experts to rate and then rank 68 survivorship criteria to answer the question, what quality criteria do survivorship experts consider to be important in achieving optimal cancer survivorship care? The most endorsed item was that organisations should have a policy for the provision of survivorship care, shown as item 1 in the green policy domain on the screen. This framework was then operationalised for use in Victorian public hospitals with the development of a generic policy template. The template was developed as a 4-page modifiable Word document and includes sections you would see in any policy, including target audience, scope and purpose. It also includes 8 survivorship care specific sections, including delivering quality survivorship care, taking a coordinated multidisciplinary approach, involving consumers and carers, and nominating an executive cancer survivorship care champion. This is a template that the VICS are working with health services to personalise and put in place, and is available on our website. Policy is often an enabler for change reform, and putting a survivorship care policy in place presents a number of benefits for health services. Firstly, the policy will allow health services to formally articulate their commitment to quality cancer survivorship care. For health services establishing cancer survivorship care within their service mix, this template provides an opportunity to identify and commit to select quality cancer survivorship care practices. For health services with established cancer survivorship care practices, this template can reflect a whole of organisation commitment to quality cancer survivorship care and reinforce existing practices. It can also assist hospital accreditation against the National Safety and Quality Health Service standards, particularly aligning with Standard 2, partnering with consumers, and Standard 5, comprehensive care. I will now pass over to Rebecca to talk more about the project methodology and project activities.
Thanks, Tegan. We'll now look more closely at our project methodology, which outlines activities to achieve our project objectives and a project timeline along the bottom of the slide. Stage 1 involves commencing work to put the survivorship care policy in place at Victorian public hospitals. To support local project work, we have also established a survivorship peer group, which includes VICS staff from each region. Peer group members have undertaken a baseline survey so we can understand their current knowledge and confidence around survivorship care and their learning needs. Work to put the policy in place at public hospitals will progressively occur over the duration of the project. Stage 2, which we're in at the moment, involves prioritising 1 to 2 improvement areas for model of care development. We'll provide more detail on this process in a moment, but it has included a consumer survey and health professional poll. Stage 2A will commence in 2023 and will involve co-design workshops with consumers and health professionals to develop the 1 to 2 prioritised improvement areas into actionable models of care. Stage 3 will commence in the second half of 2023, and it will involve implementing the 1 to 2 developed models of care at a selection of health services. Implementation will occur within current practice settings, utilising existing staff resources, quality improvement methodologies, and be supported by the WCMICS and the ACSC. Following Stage 3, an evaluation period will occur through to March 2024. The Survivorship Peer Group was established in August this year, and the purpose of the peer group is to support local project delivery. Meeting monthly, it provides an opportunity for us to update WCMICS staff on project activities, but more importantly, provides a space for peer-to-peer learning. For WCMICS staff to share learnings, enablers and barriers, and problem-solve challenges associated with local project delivery, as well as an opportunity for educational initiatives to be delivered to advance survivorship care knowledge. As you'll note from our project methodology, the peer group focus for 2022 has been reviewing the survivorship care policy and engaging with public hospitals to put it in place, as well as supporting the prioritisation process for model of care development. Looking more closely now at the prioritisation process, you'll note that by the end of 2022, we're aiming to have prioritised 1 to 2 improvement areas for model of care development. Survivorship care improvement areas have been identified through prior and current work. In order to select the 1 to 2 improvement areas that will progress to the development stage, we are going through a prioritisation process. Many of you will be familiar with the Embed and Spread Optimal Cancer Survivorship Care Across Victoria project. In 2021, as part of this project, we surveyed 20 Victorian public hospitals about their current survivorship care practices. Through that project, we identified 5 survivorship care improvement areas. In order to also understand the consumer perspective, we've recently undertaken a consumer survey to gather information on consumer experience receiving and accessing cancer survivorship care. Data from 69 survey respondents further supported the 5 improvement areas identified through the Embed and Spread project and identified 1 additional improvement area. Whilst all identified improvement areas are essential elements of quality survivorship care, we are undertaking a health professional poll to prioritise 1 to 2 of these areas for further action, and to also check if there are other potential improvement areas we should consider. The final step in our prioritisation process will be consulting with our statewide project advisory group. We'll seek their endorsement of the top 1 to 2 improvement areas prioritised through the poll, or their support to make the final prioritisation decision if results from the health professional poll are unclear. The 6 improvement areas that have been ranked and prioritised in the health professional poll include needs assessment, survivorship care plans, information provision, referral to services, personal pathways of follow-up care, and transitioning to survivorship care. The next steps for this project include analysing the health professional poll data and meeting with our project advisory group to confirm the 1 to 2 improvement areas that will be progressed. We look forward to sharing the outcome of the prioritisation process at the upcoming Survivorship Community Practice on the 24th of November. And we encourage you to register for this event at our website, petermac.org/cancer survivorship. Next year, work will commence on establishing co-design workshops to develop the 1 to 2 improvement areas into actionable models of care, and we will begin engaging with health services to gauge interest to participate in implementation activities later in 2023. We look forward to continuing to collaborate with the WCMICS and their member services to achieve our project objectives. Thanks for listening. Please feel free to contact either Tegan or myself if you've got any questions or are after any further information about this project. Thank you.
I'm Kath Quaid, Manager of WCMICS, and I have the pleasure of wrapping up today's forum. First, thank you to all our presenters for their time, and thanks to our consumers and clinical colleagues. We're grateful for your guidance and support in advancing our mission to improve patient experiences and outcomes. And of course, thanks to you, our audience members, for joining us here today. Shortly, today's presentations will be available on the WCMICS YouTube channel. Today's forum brings the WCMICS program delivery for 2022 to a near close, and what a year it's been. From today's presentations, you've gained a sense of the breadth of work that WCMICS undertakes, and I expect the coming year will be no different. In 2023, we will further progress the critical statewide work you've heard a little bit about today, including progressing the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people's OCP implementation, facilitating high-quality survivorship care, and progressing with clinical indicators. Furthermore, we expect that many of the projects arising from our grants funding will also come online next year. This year, we've welcomed a few new members to our team and even farewelled some familiar faces as they set off on their new adventures. And now, myself included, I too will embark on a new adventure in a few weeks' time, heading off on 12 months maternity leave. This transition has been made so much easier by the knowledge I'll be passing the baton on to an incredibly capable and experienced leader. We'll soon announce the new manager, and I'm sure you will welcome them warmly into the role. Finally, I'm pleased to announce that the WCMICS Annual Report 2021-22 is now available on our website. Our report is packed full of content, further showcasing some great WCMICS work, contributions and collaborations from the year gone. So on behalf of the WCMICS team, here's to many more successes in the year ahead, and have a lovely afternoon.